¿no?
Sí que sé que es verdad que hay españolas que sí que han hecho decathlon, pero yo jamás. Es que la vértiga...
Mucho respeto.
No somos muy amigas.
Bueno, pues ahí está ya Femke Bol, preparada para esa segunda semifinal de los 400, la neerlandesa. Esta es Gold Wally. Susan.
Sí, a ver qué nos tiene preparados Femke Bol, esta mujer, 52-17, en esta calle número 6, perdón, el exterior de Femke Bol. A ver, que ha sido la ganadora de la cuarta eliminatoria esta mañana. Es por marcas, ¿no? No es una de las grandes favoritas, pero se ha ganado esa calle número 6.
Pues Femke Bol.
Pues aquí la tenemos, la plusmarquista mundial de 400 bajo techo, y es la actual campeona.
Teresa Petriskova.
Pues la checa, ha dado magníficas sensaciones también en eliminatorias. Ha sido segunda detrás de Kielbasinska con marca personal 52-14 esta mañana.
La irlandesa Charlene Matsley.
Pues esta mañana en una buena actuación, pasando por puestos y está en esa tercera calle.
La belga Elena Ponet.
Esta mujer, una mujer de 52-31. Difícil para ella pensar en esa clasificación, que evidentemente pues todo es posible.
Y la noruega Henriette Jager.
Bueno, pues ya corrió esta mañana 53-27, casi un segundo por encima de su marca, ha pasado por puestos detrás de Bondrova. Y bueno, pues prácticamente tiene que hacer una machada, si quiere conseguir una de esas Qs mayúsculas. Una de ellas está prácticamente asignada, debería ser para Femke Bol.
Luego, prácticamente, pues, porque lo único que podría hacer es que se cayera, que no quisiéramos, ni no, o sea, algo así.
Y luego, pues bueno, esta mujer, Petriskova, Maudsley y Gold Wally, pues son las mujeres que deberían de pelear por esa segunda y tercera posición. A ver el paso del 200, recordad, Claver 23-97. Vamos a ver si Femke Bol pues decide pasar más rápida o ni lo necesita.
Las tres primeras van a la final, segunda semifinal de los 400, con Femke Bol, con Gold Wally, la austriaca. A ver quién corre más. Bueno, va a correr es Femke Bol, la que mira ya lo que le saca.
La pelea por detrás, ahí está la pelea, sí. Fíjate, Gold Wally por el exterior, cómo se hace por esa segunda plaza. Y bueno, pues Femke Bol que navegando con esa tranquilidad, fíjate, zancada amplia, pero una cadencia pues lenta, tranquila.
Sí, es que parece que va como lenta,
sí.
¿no? que corre lenta,
saltando,
sí, es verdad,
saltando,
no da esa sensación, mientras que...
Sí, un auténtico caballo de carreras.
Y Gold Wally va por detrás de ella, no se quiere despegar para conseguir esa plaza para la final.
Sí,
ha habido ahí una caída.
Sí, finalmente ha sido tercera Petriskova, la checa, y fíjate, Jager, la noruega, que había salido como un obús por esa calle 1,
pues es la que se ha caído.
Ha acabado pagando ese esfuerzo, crispada, perdiendo la compostura en los metros finales y pues finalmente ha tenido que besar el suelo.
52-19, Femke Bol. Susan Gold Wally, 52-40, 52-93 para la checa Petriskova.
Se le nota que está pensando en la final, Hoy vamos a medio gas. Vamos a ver si podemos ver un récord de Europa. Porque
no lo necesita.
El día de mañana, Otro récord del mundo, perdón.
Sí, van de la mano,
Claro, por eso. Claro. No, te digo que igual, igual quiere acabar la temporada bajo techo con un récord, aunque ya lo tiene. Bueno, y dejar el tope ahora que está muy en forma mejor. Y bueno, no ha necesitado absolutamente pues esfuerzo alguno.
Es que va,
sí, parece una más una mediofondista, ¿verdad?
Sí.
El correr de una mediofondista más que de una atleta velocista. La mujer que
mira,
es
la pobre Jager cómo iba detrás, totalmente
descompuesta.
Sí, muy crispada,
sí,
¿no?
Sí,
ha peleado, ha peleado esa tercera posición hasta... Bueno, de hecho lo tenía hasta los 395 metros. donde finalmente Perchilkova, la checa, pues ha conseguido esa tercera con mayúscula. Y buena actuación, la austriaca, ahí a la estela, pegada a la espalda de Femke Bol, sabía ahí quién era la mejor, la liebre a la que seguir, y bueno, pues contentísima, Más un país que vemos poca participación, Austria.
Además, Bol, yo la considero, aparte de que es una especialista pura y dura de 400 metros, pero es que tiene la pinta de que en el futuro...
62.19 seconds. Unremarkable on its face. But that time was not a personal best attempt, not maximum effort, not desperation. It was exactly enough. In championship athletics, knowing the difference between enough and too much is the rarest skill of all. Femke Bol had entered this European Indoor Championship semi-final as the athlete every other runner was building their race plan around. That is a particular kind of pressure. It does not announce itself. It settles into preparation, changes how rivals position in warm-up, changes the energy in the call room. Bol ignored all of it. Watch what she does in the opening 60 meters, not with her legs, but with her shoulders. The indoor 400 meters is a different race in ways most viewers never see. The track is 200 meters, not 400. Every runner completes 4 bends instead of 2. Tighter radius bends, typically around 36 meters, demand more lateral force through the foot, loading the hip abductors harder and earlier than an outdoor race. The shorter straights, usually around 34 meters each, compress recovery windows between acceleration phases. You cannot coast on an indoor track. Every section demands active energy management, so the cost of a tactical mistake is higher, and it arrives faster. Here is what most people assume about elite 400-meter runners, that the fastest qualifier through the semis arrives in the final with an advantage. The evidence is more complicated. The strangest part is that the 52.19 Bol ran here tells us almost nothing about her capability and everything about her intelligence. Bol's reaction off the blocks registered approximately 0.174 seconds. Not the fastest in the field. 2 competitors cleared the line marginally quicker, but reaction time in the 400 is a secondary variable. What matters is the drive phase transition, where the athlete shifts from acceleration mechanics to upright running mechanics. Bol made that transition around the 40-meter mark, earlier than most rivals, and the effect was immediate. Her stride length settled at approximately 2.15 meters, her cadence around 4.6 steps per second. Those numbers represent efficiency, not aggression. She was not trying to build a gap. She was building a sustainable rhythm. Through the first bend, that rhythm looked almost conservative. The compact pack behind her suggested several athletes had read the race as an opportunity to apply early pressure. 2 runners held positions within 1.2 meters through the back straight, close enough to represent a genuine tactical threat. This is the problem every favorite faces in a championship semi-final. Press too hard, and you burn the reserves you need for the final. Ignore the pressure and risk a mechanical disruption if a competitor surges unexpectedly. Bol did neither. She held cadence, maintained posture, and let the physics of the race do the work. Put yourself in the shoes of the athletes behind her for a moment. You are running at a pace that feels controlled, and the gap is not closing. You have 2 choices: accept the deficit and trust your finishing speed, or accelerate now and gamble on your own capacity. Most of them accelerated. That decision, made somewhere between 150 and 180 meters in, is where the semi-final was effectively decided, not at the finish line. The critical measurement here is the split differential, the difference between a runner's first 200 meters and their second. Elite outdoor 400-meter runners typically target a differential of 2 to 3 seconds, running the second half slightly slower as lactate accumulates and neuromuscular fatigue sets in. Indoors, with tighter bends increasing mechanical cost, the sustainable differential compresses. A runner who goes through 200 meters at 25.4 seconds will struggle to hold form through the final bend if their aerobic capacity is not deep enough to buffer the lactate produced. Bol's estimated 200-meter split in this race was approximately 25.8 seconds. Controlled, well within her capacity. Several rivals who had pressured her through the first half came through that same mark at 25.3 or 25.4 seconds. Those 0.4 to 0.5 seconds of difference represent a physiological debt that must be repaid in the final 200 meters. The body does not negotiate that debt, it collects it. Here's the take that will probably get pushback. Running a semi-final in 52.19 when you are capable of something closer to 50.5 is not conservative. It is tactically aggressive in a way casual observation misses entirely. Bol was not being cautious. She was imposing a choice on every other athlete in that race. Match her, exhaust yourself, and face the final compromised. Or let her go and hand her the psychological advantage before the medal race even begins. The decisive acceleration came at approximately the 310-meter mark, entering the final straight. No dramatic shift in body language, no visible strain. Bol's stride frequency increased from roughly 4.6 steps per second to approximately 4.85 steps per second. Stride length held rather than shortened, the indicator that her hip flexors still had recruitment capacity available. Speed increased from an estimated 7.9 meters per second through the final bend to approximately 8.4 meters per second through the home straight. The gap that had been stable for most of the race expanded to over 3 meters in under 4 seconds. What do you think? Is tactical restraint in a semi-final underrated in modern athletics, or does it create a false sense of dominance before the real race? The comment section tends to split hard on this one. What this performance teaches is not specific to Femke Bol. It applies to any championship 400 meters at any level. The athletes who survive the semi-finals with the most physiological reserve do not always run the fastest times. They run the most precise times. What will determine the final is not peak speed. It is how much aerobic capacity and muscular freshness each athlete carries into the starting blocks 48 hours later. The next time you watch a championship 400 meters, ignore the winning margin. Watch what happens to arm mechanics in the final 30 meters of each semi-final. When shoulders start rotating across the body instead of driving forward and back, when arm swing shortens and elbows flare wide, a runner is approaching the edge of their reserve. Count how many athletes show those signals in the semi and then track what happens to their technique in the final. That will tell you more about the result than any split time. In a separate breakdown, we examine what happens when a 400-meter runner misjudges that opening split by just half a second, and how quickly the final straight reveals the cost. If you want to understand this event at a deeper level, that video is the next step. Subscribe and leave a comment below with the athlete or race you want us to break down next.